This is the Mask of Tutankhamun, the famous boy king of Egypt, one of the most famous works of art in the world. Made of solid gold and weighing around 25 pounds, it is a masterpiece of early goldsmithing. For a century, the world believed that the golden mask of Tutankhamun was exactly what it appeared to be, perfect, intact, and created for a boy king. But some subtle details never quite fit, and no one could explain them. Everything changed after a modern accident that, almost by chance, opened the opportunity to look beyond the surface and led to a discovery that rewrote who that face was truly honoring throughout history. The Icon That Fooled the World, November 1922. In the Valley of the Kings, British archaeologist Howard Carter makes a small hole in a sealed chamber that had not been opened since the time of the pharaohs. He holds a candle through the opening. When asked if he could see anything, Carter replied that he could, describing what he saw as wondrous. Inside lay a treasure beyond imagination: golden chariots, jewel-encrusted thrones, painted statues frozen in the middle of the passage. But buried deep within 3 nested coffins was the object that would eclipse everything else: the golden funerary mask. It weighed more than a bowling ball, 200 pounds of solid gold, inlaid with lapis lazuli and turquoise, with obsidian and quartz eyes that seemed almost alive. For the ancient Egyptians, gold wasn't just decoration, it was divine flesh. This mask was a sacred technology designed to help a pharaoh's soul recognize its body in the afterlife. Without it, the spirit would wander forever. On the back, artisans carved a spell from the Book of the Dead, divine protection for the journey beyond death. For a century, the world accepted this mask as perfect, flawless, and made exclusively for a boy king who died at 19. However, almost immediately, experts noticed details that didn't fit, elements that seemed wrong, details no one wanted to confront, because if these clues were real, it meant the mask wasn't what history had said it was. The impossibility of 70 days. King Tutankhamun's death was sudden, probably caused by an infection following a broken leg. In ancient Egypt, religious law was absolute. A pharaoh had exactly 70 days to be mummified and buried. No more, no less. 70. Now consider what that meant. 70 days to carve a royal tomb from solid limestone. 70 days to construct 3 elaborate coffins nested one inside the other. 70 days to assemble thousands of funerary objects. And 70 days to create a 10-kilogram mask of solid gold, encrusted with precious stones and carved with microscopic hieroglyphs. All for a death no one anticipated. The tomb itself tells the story of panic. It is surprisingly small for a pharaoh. Some paintings on the walls appear unfinished, as if the artists were rushed out mid-painting. The massive stone sarcophagus is chipped at the corners, suggesting that workers broke it just to make it fit inside the chamber. Then, researchers noticed something else. Many of the funerary objects were not made for Tooth at all. The statues had faces that did not resemble him. The jewelry was for a woman's body. The coffins showed names erased and hastily re-engraved. When scholars looked at the mask again, the most disturbing clue came to light. The ears were pierced. In ancient Egypt, only children and women wore earrings. An adult pharaoh would never be depicted like that. Never. Suddenly, an unthinkable theory emerged. What if no mask existed when Tutankhamun died? What if the priests, racing against the 70-day deadline, stole one already made for someone else? Did they steal one already made for someone else? The missing queen. Her name was Nefertiti. Her face is one of the most recognizable in human history, the elegant bust with the long neck and the enigmatic smile. She was Tutankhamun's stepmother, wife of the radical pharaoh Akhenaten, and after her husband's death, the evidence suggests she did something unprecedented. She may have taken the throne herself, ruling Egypt as pharaoh under a new name. Then she vanished. Her tomb has never been found. Her mummy has never been conclusively identified. Official records remain silent, as if she were deliberately erased. For Egyptologists, this absence has always been unsettling. If Nefertiti died before Tutankhamun, the implications would be staggering. A queen who became pharaoh would have had to have a funerary mask had been found beforehand, one with pierced ears, one with refined feminine features. If Tut then died unexpectedly, the timing would fit perfectly, but there was no way to prove it. Examining the inside of the mask would require damaging it, an unthinkable act. So the theory remained whispered, mentioned discreetly at conferences, dismissed in print, too dangerous to pursue seriously. The disaster that changed everything. In 2014, during routine cleaning at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, a worker accidentally bumped the mask. The long braided beard, a sacred symbol of divine kingship, broke off and fell to the floor. The damage itself was serious. What followed was catastrophic. Instead of calling in expert conservators, the museum staff panicked. They reached for the quickest fix available, industrial epoxy, the kind used for plumbing and automotive repairs. They dabbed it over the crack, forced the beard back into place, and hoped the damage would go unnoticed. It didn't go unnoticed. The photographs spread instantly. Traces of glue were visible along the gilded chin. Egypt's most famous artifact, which had survived wars, tomb raiders, and 3,000 years underground, had been marred by a hardware store repair. The Egyptian government acted quickly to contain the embarrassment. An international conservation team was assembled, led by German expert Christian Ekman. Their official task was simple: remove the epoxy and reattach the beard properly. But Ekman saw an opportunity. Before restoring anything, he would scan the mask using advanced X-ray fluorescence technology. If the Nefertiti theory was true, would this finally prove it or end it for good? The scan that was supposed to put an end to the theory. Ekman's approach was meticulous. X-ray fluorescence scanning could read the elemental composition of gold without damaging the artifact. If the face had been taken from another mask and later attached, the scan would reveal differences: separate gold alloys, hidden solder lines, chemical scars left by alteration. For months, his team scanned every millimeter. The results seemed conclusive. The gold of the face matched the gold of the crown. The hieroglyphs spelling Tutankhamun's name showed no signs of having been carved over another inscription. Even the delicate glass inlays around the eyes were intact. If a new face had been welded on, the heat would have instantly shattered the inlays. The conclusion was inescapable. The mask was original, entirely Tut's. The most dangerous theory in Egyptology was declared dead. Ekman's team removed the epoxy and reattached the beard using beeswax, the same material the ancient artisans would have used. The mask was returned to its display. The textbooks remained unchanged. But not everyone was convinced. A small group of scientists pointed out a fatal limitation. X-rays can see density and structure, but they can't read history. They can't tell if the gold was poured once or remade, hammered, erased, and reshaped with extraordinary precision. Erased and reshaped with extraordinary precision. If the ancient artisans had used gold from the same batch, flattened the inscriptions perfectly, and sealed the seams at an atomic level, the X-rays wouldn't see anything at all. To detect that kind of deception would require a completely different technology, one capable of reading the memory of the atoms themselves. In 2024, that technology existed. The scan that changed history. Dr. Helene Voss is a materials physicist at the Max Planck Institute in Munich. His specialty is quantum resonance imaging, a technology so new it barely exists outside of public research. Unlike X-rays, it doesn't look for cracks or density. It reads how atoms remember heat, pressure, and movement. In late 2024, his team received permission from Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities to perform a non-invasive scan of Tutankhamun's mask. Officially, it was a calibration test. They wanted to demonstrate that the system could read ancient gold. No one expected it to challenge a century of established conclusions. The scan was performed after the Grand Egyptian Museum closed for the night. The mask lay motionless as the scanner came to life. Data flowed in real time. For hours, everything matched the established results. Then, the scanner reached the cartridge containing Tutankhamun's name. According to Dr. Ahmed Hassan of Cairo University, the room fell silent. Beneath the visible hieroglyphs, the quantum imager revealed a pattern that shouldn't exist. Atomic displacement, consistent with repeated hammering and reshaping, isolated precisely within that inscription. Dr. Voss ordered another scan. The anomaly remained. Recalibration changed nothing. Remote collaborator Dr. Yuki Tanaka confirmed the signal from Kyoto. The data was clear. Someone had erased one name and carved another over it. The entire mask. What emerged dismantled a century of certainty. First, the ears. Standard X-rays showed solid, uninterrupted, and flawless gold. The quantum resonance image told a different story. Beneath the surface were two perfectly molded cylindrical plugs. The original ear holes had been filled with rods made of the same type of gold alloy, then hammered and polished until no seam could be detected by any technology prior to 2024. The ears weren't decorative. They had been erased. Then came the face. Along the boundary where the face meets the crown, the scanner detected what Dr. Voss described as a thermal ghost. At an atomic level, the gold along that precise contour carried a different thermal history than the surrounding metal. This meant it had been separately superheated, then fused together without altering the visible surface. Ancient artisans didn't weld the face from the front. That would have destroyed the fragile glass inlays around the eyes. Instead, they attached it from the back using controlled high-pressure heating. The seam was invisible to X-rays, invisible to microscopes, invisible for more than 3,000 years. But the atoms remembered. The mask had been surgically altered, not crudely, perfectly. The room was silent as the implication sank in. The mask hadn't just been reused, it had been rewritten. The name that shouldn't exist. After a long silence, Dr. Ahmed Hassan asked the question no one else dared. Could the scanner reconstruct what had been erased? The doctor, Swaimi, replied in a low voice that it could. By mapping the microscopic stress patterns left by the original hammering, the system could digitally reconstruct the original inscription. He started the program. For 11 minutes, no one spoke. Lines of data condensed into shapes, then into symbols. Slowly, the hieroglyphs began to appear on the screen, emerging from the atomic noise like a buried voice. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, observing remotely from Kyoto, later said that no one in the room breathed. The name appeared one symbol at a time. It wasn't Tutankhamun. It was Neferu-Aten, the royal name many historians believe Nefertiti adopted when she ruled as pharaoh. There was no ambiguity. The erased inscription matched known royal forms. The spacing was correct. The stroke order was exact. This was not a coincidence or contamination. It was a deliberate replacement. The mask wasn't just altered to fit Tut. His name had been carved over hers. For the first time in 3,000 years, the missing queen spoke again through the memory of gold. The cover-up revealed. Quantum data reconstructed a story Egypt had buried in panic. When Tutankhamun died unexpectedly, there was no funerary mask prepared for him. His reign had been brief, his power fragile. His successor, a man named Ai, acted swiftly, likely claiming the grand tomb that had been intended for Tut for himself. The priests faced an impossible problem and an unbreakable law. 70 days, no exceptions. Then they turned to the previous ruler. Nefertiti had ruled as pharaoh. Her funerary mask already existed. It was complete. It was sacred and waiting, so they took it. First, they erased the signs of a woman's identity. Her pierced ears were sealed with gold of the same alloy, hammered until the seams disappeared. Her face was removed and replaced with a new one bearing the features of the boy king, positioned from behind with extraordinary precision to avoid breaking the glass inlays. Then his real name was flattened atom by atom, and Tutankhamun's was carved in its place. The king was buried with a stolen face. The mask became an icon. The truth vanished. For 3,300 years, history accepted the lie because it was flawless, until technology learned to listen as metal remembers. The mask still stares from behind the glass, perfect and familiar, but beneath the gold lies a buried truth, revealed only when the atoms remembered what history forgot. If this mask was stolen from Nefertiti, what else in Tutankhamun's tomb doesn't belong to her? And where's the queen's true face?